Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Podcast channel with Emma and Mike.
Today, we are going to explore the prepositions in, on, and at. They are prepositions of time and place.
Is it in the afternoon, on the afternoon, or at the afternoon? Why do we say at Easter, but on Easter Sunday? Why do you travel in a car, but on a train?
That is what we are going to cover in today's English lesson. We'll help you understand these prepositions with lots of examples and exercises.
If you find the podcast speed too fast, we encourage you to adjust the playback speed to 0.75x. On mobile, click the gear or settings icon at the top of the video screen. On desktop, you'll find the settings icon at the bottom right corner of the video.
And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel.
Let's start with in, on, and at as prepositions of time.
When we look at in, on, and at, we move from general to more specific. Think of in as very general, on as more specific, and at as the most specific.
Let's take a look at in first. We use in to talk about general periods of time. For instance, in the future, in the past, in the present.
Here are some examples. In the future, I want to travel the world. In the past, I loved reading books.
In is also used for years, decades, and centuries. For example, in 1987, I was born. I was born in the 80s. My great-grandfather was born in the 19th century.
We also use in for seasons. For example, in summer, in winter, in autumn, in spring.
In autumn, I enjoy the crisp air. In spring, I feel energized. We also use in to talk about months and weeks. In March, in October, in 4 weeks, in a couple of weeks.
For example, in March, I will be 25. Hopefully, our project will be completed in a few weeks.
Lastly, we use in to talk about parts of the day. For example, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. I like to read books in the evening.
So in is for more general times. Let's move on to on. It's more specific, but not as specific as at. We use on to talk about dates.
For example, on the 15th of July, 1995, I was born. On her birthday, she received many gifts.
We also use on for holidays that include the word day. On Christmas Day, on New Year's Day, on a public holiday.
A public holiday is a day when schools and offices are usually closed. For instance, on Independence Day, we watch fireworks.
So we don't say on Christmas, but we do say on Christmas Day. We also use on for days of the week. On Monday, on Friday, on Saturday morning.
And for days of the month, on the 4th of July, on the first day of September. Remember, in American English and British English, dates are said differently. For example, on the 4th of May or May 4th.
One more to remember is on time. For example, I arrived at work on time, meaning at the correct time.
Let's move on to at, the most specific preposition. We use at to talk about specific times. At 8 a.m., at noon, at midnight, at sunrise.
For example, at 8 a.m., I start my day. At sunset, the sky looks beautiful.
We also use at for holidays without the word day. For instance, at Easter, at Christmas. For example, at Christmas, we decorate the tree.
One last miscellaneous one is at night. For example, I like to relax at night.
Let's move on to in, on, and at as prepositions of place. They follow the same rule. In is more general, on is more specific, and at is the most specific.
Let's start with in. In is used for countries, cities, neighborhoods, and enclosed spaces. For example, I live in Spain. She works in London.
I stayed in the Cotswolds, in the house, in a car.
Now let's talk about on. We use on for streets, surfaces, floors of buildings, and public transport. For example, on Fleet Street, on the table, on the first floor, on a bus.
For instance, on the ceiling, on the roof, on a plane. So it's in a car, on a train.
Finally, we use at for specific addresses, locations, shops, group activities, and places of study. For example, at 123 Main Street, at the coffee shop, at a party.
We also use at for home, work, and places of study. For example, I'm at home, I'm at work, I'm at school.
We also use at with top, bottom, and start. For instance, at the top of the page, at the bottom of the stairs.
Remember, we use on for surfaces, like on the desk, but at for sitting at a desk. For example, my laptop is on the desk, but I am sitting at my desk. Now let's dive deeper into prepositions of time. Prepositions of time include in, on, and at. We use these prepositions to indicate when something happens.
That's right, Emma. For example, I have a meeting in the afternoon. Here, in is used to indicate a general part of the day.
Exactly. Another example is, I was born in 1987. In is used here to refer to a specific year.
In is also used for months, seasons, decades, and centuries. For example, in October, I will be 32, or in the 1990s, the internet became widely available.
We also use in for periods of time. For instance, in a few days, we will go on vacation.
Now let's talk about on. On is used for days and dates. For example, I will meet her on Monday, or we celebrated on the 4th of July.
On is also used for holidays with the word day. For instance, on New Year's Day or on Independence Day.
Don't forget that on can also be used for specific days of the week or parts of the day. For example, on Friday evening or on Saturday morning.
Moving on to at, the most specific preposition of time. We use at to indicate specific times. For example, the meeting is at 3 p.m. or I wake up at sunrise.
At is also used for specific holidays without the word day. For instance, at Christmas or at Easter.
We also use at for specific periods like at night or at the moment.
Let's give our listeners a quick exercise. Emma, can you give them a sentence to find the preposition of time?
Sure. We will have dinner at 7 p.m. What is the preposition of time in this sentence?
Correct. The preposition is at.
Let's do another one. He was born on June 5th. Can you spot the preposition of time?
Yes, the preposition is on.
Moving on to prepositions of place. Like discussed earlier, these prepositions indicate where something is located. Common prepositions of place include in, on, and at.
Let's start with in. We use in for larger areas such as countries, cities, and neighborhoods. For example, she lives in France, or he works in New York.
In is also used for enclosed spaces. For instance, the cat is in the box, or they are in the room.
Next, let's talk about on. We use on for surfaces. For example, the book is on the table, or the picture is on the wall.
On is also used for streets and public transport. For example, she lives on Elm Street, or he is on the bus.
Now, let's discuss at. We use at for specific locations. For example, I will meet you at the cafe, or she is waiting at the bus stop.
At is also used for addresses. For instance, he lives at 123 Maple Street.
And remember, we use at for places of study, work, and home. For example, she's at school, or he is at work.
Let's practice with some examples. The meeting is at the office. What is the preposition of place in this sentence?
Correct. The preposition is at.
Here's another one. She is sitting on the chair. Can you spot the preposition of place?
Yes, the preposition is on.
Now let's talk about some common mistakes people make with prepositions.
One common mistake is using in instead of at for specific locations. For example, saying, I'm in the park instead of I'm at the park. Also, using at instead of in for larger places. For example, she lives at New York should be, she lives in New York.
Understanding these common errors can help improve your usage of prepositions.
Absolutely. Let's practice with some examples to reinforce this.
I will see you in the weekend. What is the correct preposition here?
The correct preposition is on. It should be, I will see you on the weekend.
Here's another one. He lives at London. What is the correct preposition here?
The correct preposition is in. It should be he lives in London.
Now let's make it more interactive. I'll read a sentence, and you have to identify the preposition.
She arrived at the airport. Can you pick out the preposition?
Yes, the preposition is at.
Here's another one. The book is on the shelf. Can you find the preposition?
Correct. The preposition is on.
Let's discuss some commonly confused prepositions. Prepositions like in, on, and at can be confusing because they are used to depict both time and place.
Right. For instance, in can be used for general locations like neighborhoods, cities, and countries. I live in India.
On is used for more specific locations like streets or floors. She lives on the 3rd floor.
And at is used for very specific locations. Meet me at the park.
These prepositions can also be used for time. In for general times like months, years, and centuries. He was born in 2000.
On for days and dates. We will meet on Monday.
And at for specific times. The event starts at 5 p.m.
Understanding these uses can help avoid confusion. Let's practice with some examples.
I was born in the 1990s. Is this correct?
Yes, it is correct. Here's another one. We have a meeting at Monday. Is this correct?
No, it should be on Monday.
We hope you found this episode helpful and engaging. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel.
And if you find the podcast speed too fast, don't forget to adjust the playback speed to 0.75x. On mobile, click the gear or settings icon at the top of the video screen. On desktop, you'll find the settings icon at the bottom right corner of the video.
Until next time, keep practicing your English skills.